we are now.
Hello world, we are live. Where are we, Zach? We're on.
Week a million of lockdown.
It's forever March.
Pretty much. I mean, I remember lockdown starting in March, and then I remember we're in March now, just about. So it does feel like I'm still in the March from the first time, and now it's March again.
Like March version 13 or 14, it's just March the 14th.
Yeah,
something like that.
the whole time.
Wow. 30 seconds into this, we've not talked about what this is, but we have talked about how jaded we are over the fact.
To be fair, I think we're on episode, like we're on something. We're getting. Yes, hi Tim. Someone knows you. Someone knows you. Tim Chow knows you. He's saying hi, Andy.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, there you go.
Hi, Tim.
Welcome to the stream. To be fair, I don't know what I was going to say. I was just more excited that someone said hi to you in chat. March. Yeah, that's the thing. Should we just to start the show, Andy. Just do your thing. I'm gone already. I don't have a clue what's happening.
Okay, so what this is, it's Zach and myself recording a podcast about well-being and gaming. And everything between the two. We do it every week. We do it online because, well, why not? And yeah. And so before the actual kind of podcasty content bit, we have this bit where we chat, make sure everything's working, which seems to be working mostly well today.
Yep.
No, let's say it's successful today, Zach.
Well, for those people that have been here the whole time, they will have noticed that we did disappear for a few seconds whilst I accidentally clicked end stream before we started, after we'd gone live. But apart from that, it's been absolutely perfect.
Clicking on end stream. It's fine.
It's fine. We're not trying to be professional, so it's fine. We're very much hobbyists. So, but we get paid. So I mean, technically, once you get paid, you then once you get paid for something, that makes you professional, or at least I don't know. It obviously doesn't make you instantly really good at something, but we're not just in a hobby, is it? Right? A hobby. If you get paid for something, it can't be. Could it be a hobby? I guess you can be paid for a hobby. This is an interesting philosophical question. If you're paid for something, is it then not the hobby that you had? Is a hobby have to be free in order for it to be a hobby?
Or does it turn into a passion and you're being paid for your passion?
And is a passion not just a hobby? Can you be passionate about something without it being a hobby? Or would you say that a hobby is usually something that you're passionate about? This is why people come. It's just blown. This is why people come to the high caliber podcast, because these are the kind of questions we explore. We go deep here, guys. We going deep.
Yes.
Also, before we start, so it's Easter, as everyone knows, and the thing you do at Easter time is you buy Easter eggs, because who doesn't want an excuse to eat a stupid amount of chocolate? And so we ordered, because everything's like online shopping nowadays, and we've been online shopping for like the past year, like everyone else has been. We picked out some Easter eggs to come in the shopping, and you get that email before your shopping comes saying all the things they don't have. Like, oh, we didn't have this. So, unfortunately, Bethan's was fine. Bethan's Malteser Easter egg, no problem. Mine, however, was not available. So
what was it you were wanting?
I
I've heard stories about how normal and sorry. Anyway,
how normal? It's a comment about me being abnormal. No, I was going for a white chocolate lint Easter egg.
Okay.
And they just
not at
didn't.
all fancy and nice.
No. Not there. Don't have it.
What with anything?
No, they just weren't going to do it. They're just not bringing me anything. I mean, I would if they'd have swapped it for something I didn't like, I would have been more angry than them just not having it. But it's
So
going.
does this mean that, well, you're going to be sharing Bethan's Easter egg?
No, I'm not interested in Malteser. I'm not a huge chocolate person, like plain chocolate person. So like, I like a Snickers because there's lots of other things going on in there other than the chocolate. I like the Cadbury. I like the dairy milk chocolate that has things in it. It's like the Oreo one, which is like predominantly Oreo and not so much chocolate. I'm not a huge like just chocolate person, which is why I was going for the white chocolate over like the chocolate. Oh, it's just sad, isn't it? It's just sad that the few things in lockdown you look forward to taken away.
I am impressed though that Bethan's got an Easter egg that you don't like the idea of.
Yeah, I'm not a huge I'm not a huge Malteser fan anyway, and I don't really like the chocolate that comes with those eggs. So
So, people of Exeter, if you see Zach wandering the streets at any point, feel free to throw him an Easter egg or two. He might appreciate it. He might get bruised. We'll see what happens.
yeah, it's just
But it can't be, caramel chocolate.
it's just sad. It's just sad times. Anyway, in my notes, it says that we need to talk about Watch Dogs Legion. So I want to know what you want to say about it because I have it. I've played it. It's all right. I haven't completed the story, but it's a cool kind of concept. I like the concept. I like the story. I like the setting. But you've put in here Watch Dogs Legion.
So, Watch Dogs. It's already started, hasn't it? My lack of ability to talk, and we've not even pressed record on the audio yet.
Well, that's okay then.
So, Legion, let's just say Legion, has had a free play weekend.
Okay.
I took advantage. I downloaded it. I may have started playing it on Saturday night, the night that clocks went forward. I may have time travelled into the future.
Wow.
I may have seen 2 o'clock and skipped past 1:30. I may have fallen in love with driving the streets of London and exploring the streets of London. Okay, admittingly a version of London near the future, and London that we really hope that will never, ever, ever, ever happen, and can never possibly happen. Anyway, yeah, I think I just liked the feel of just. I think it's lockdown. I think it's the impact of the last 12 months has meant that being able to walk into what is blatantly meant to be an old style, English style, just a pub. I think I just fell in love with this game. And yes, I will be buying it before the price goes back up.
And what platform are you playing on here?
On PC.
Ah, the fabled new gaming PC. Your new gaming PC can run Watch Dogs Legion.
Yeah.
What setting? This is for the nerds out there. What graphics settings are you on? Are you on high, medium, low?
I don't know.
Ultra.
To be honest,
Or
I've not
select? You've not touched it. You've not messed with it. You just however the computer came.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see because it is a pretty game on high settings. It looks nice.
Yeah, there's the intro sequence when you're on top of the Houses of Parliament. Not gonna give any more details, and you can see the skyline of London. I'm like,
Yeah, that opening mission is really cool. Yeah, and you're out on top of the Houses of Parliament, No, slight spoilers. You're on the top of House's apartment. You're out on top of the House's apartment.
It's very gentle spoiler because I
Yeah,
think
that doesn't tell you why you're there or what you're doing there. Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
that first mission, I couldn't help but feel that it was the James Bond game I've always wanted to play.
Yeah, I mean, that feeling doesn't last long because of what happens next. But yeah,
Well, yeah.
that might be a bit more of a spoiler than I should let on. But not really in the context of the whole game. I really like that you can recruit like anyone that's walking around, and you can like pick the skills that make up your party, and you can like switch between them on the fly. It's really cool. I remember spending so much time. So I'm not gonna say what class it was, but there are different classes. People have different classes, different abilities.
I've only got past the second.
Okay,
mission.
I won't say what I won't say what I was grinding for, but basically they get a set amount of fixed skills, and then there's one that can be like random, like. And I was and there was a spawn location for this one type of really rare person you can recruit, and I remember just farming that person over and over again to get this because I like all the skills that they come with, but I was trying to roll for a better like random one that can be like I didn't get an amazing one, and I
skill set. That was awesome.
Yeah, it wasn't awesome. I'm not going to. Should I tell you what I was rolling? No, I'm not going to tell you. No. I was rolling for what I consider one of the coolest sets of abilities in the game, but I was rolling for a really good, like there's the random perk that you can get. I was rolling for a really good one, so it meant just loading into the game, going to the random spawn location that they can spawn in the world, seeing if they have the perk. If they don't, back out the game, reloading the game, going to the place, like like the gamers do, right? In the end, I settled for something that I felt was like half decent.
So you didn't form any quick, meaningful attachments to the team that you had built.
No. Also, this is another thing. Also, a high proportion of the people that were spawning, because they can spawn kind of different. So everything's random about the character when they spawn in. So like how tall they are, what the character models look like, whether they're male, female, like all that kind of stuff. High proportion of middle-aged women for this particular like. I was like, okay, whilst I don't have a problem with that. Like, I'm kind of feeling I want someone maybe a little bit younger, like, to go with, like, the skill set that we're going for. It felt a bit weird and a bit odd that they're, like, middle-aged Scottish women. I don't know. But why not?
I believe the only thing I can say at this point is, okay. But yeah, good game. I massively enjoyed it. And yeah, I might have to download it more, buy it. I don't know how it works because it's basically on the PC already, isn't it? It just isn't going to let me buy it. It just isn't going to let me play it. So yeah. So I'm thinking I might have to try and get hold of it before.
It's definitely a game I'll go back to. Like when there's a lull and I'm feeling that way inclined. I mean, I really enjoyed it when I was playing it. I think it's one of those things where I think a game came out that I was more obsessed with, and so I just stopped kind of playing it. But not because I didn't like it or didn't enjoy it. I think it was just one of those things.
We should probably. I'm just thinking of time.
We're doing okay.
We're doing all right.
Doing all right. We should probably start, but we're doing all right.
The Watch Dogs Legion podcast, which, considering how I'm feeling about that game right now, would not be the worst thing in the world.
I think it would require you to, or at least both of us, to have played the whole game. So then that way, I'm not spoiling anything for you, you're not spoiling anything for me. But maybe we should do that. Maybe we should do like a podcast one week where we talk about a game we've both played to the end, and like do like a little review. I don't know. Maybe there's do like a monthly game review of something that we've both played. There you go.
I've got such a bad attention span though.
Yeah, I imagine we'll be playing short games.
Really short games.
Lots of good indie games out there that are short.
A really old game. Where, you only have to play through a few levels to really get a flavour of the game.
maybe, if that's what people would like to hear from us. Although I feel like that's very different from what we do on this podcast. It would have to be something different, because I think we have a very faithful podcast listening crowd that come expecting a certain thing, and then if we were to suddenly do just game reviews, that's a very different beast to listen to. Because we have to come up with categories and other things. Should we just start the show? Let's just start the show.
We're now at 4:20, and
yeah, and we've got to record a half an hour show ish, so we've got to get moving on.
All right, and yeah, that's what I'm looking for, the record button. Interesting. 1 second.
Well, let me guess, the record button's not working.
Oh, it. And so, this is exactly what we meant earlier by...
I'm just so glad that it's not my problems, like it normally is.
Well, I'm very certain I cleared out my hard drive earlier.
Oh, wow, are you full? This is also one of the problems with our new... I say problems, our new laptops we got with work. Not a lot of hard drive space. I'm using an external hard drive with it, because that means I can put games on it for the live gaming stream, but not a lot of space at all. I found after everything's been installed, like all the video editing stuff that we use for things, not a lot of space for anything else.
Interesting. Okay, let's try that again. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that though. Okay, Zach, are you ready?
Yes.
Let's try this right. Hello, welcome to Skill Check, the gaming and well-being podcast from YMCA Exeter, presented to you by Andy and Zach. How are things today, Zach?
They're going well. Although we've had a few slight hiccups so far, this has been by far one of the smoothest starts to podcasts. I feel like we've reached a place now where more things go right than go wrong, which is a nice place to be.
This almost feels like a success so far today, in that anything that has broken, we've been able to fix really very quickly and without panicking. How does it feel to not panic live on the internet?
Good. It feels good. It does feel good. There's time, though. There's always time.
I'm loving the amount of faith that you have in something, in a technical mishap happening.
Well, you did just not... I mean, the people that are listening to this right now don't know. They're oblivious to this, but you did just try and start recording this podcast and it didn't work. So...
That's true. That's true. But I fixed it. I've cleared out some space off the hard drive, and it's all okay. I'll have to remove a few games or something, but it's still okay. What are we talking about today?
I believe we're talking about gaming on a budget, or getting the most out of gaming with limited kind of income type scenario ish.
Kind of gaming, saving.
Yeah, or whether you're just trying to save money or budget well, that kind of what can help us do that? Where are the best places to go to find out find free games? One of those places is the YMCA Exeter Gaming Hub group. If you'd like to be invited to that, we do Free Game Fridays, where we post links to various places where you can access games that are either on sale, heavily on sale, or free.
Drop us a message if you want an invite. Go on.
See how we did there? We plugged something else that we do through the podcast. Yeah.
it was very smooth as well. It's not like we made
Mm.
a lot of tension around it and we didn't focus on it or anything like
Yeah.
that. Anyway, yes, and this is all whilst being very, I guess, self-aware that I guess most of the time to play games you need to spend money, right?
Yeah, I mean, there has been over the kind of last few years in the gaming world a bigger amount of free to play games, which, like, even just 5 years ago, that wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
So there are more free to play games and games that you can play for free. The caveat with them is usually you have to use a custom kind of launcher, so they'll be pushing their products on you in different ways. So, like, the good example of that is Fortnite. You can't play that through Steam. You have to get the Epic Games launcher, which is their own thing, which will then spam you with advertisements and things and deals and offers in exchange for their free game, essentially.
So before we get too much into this, can I talk apps and so basically apps that are explicitly there to kind of help you either manage your money or save money or just keep a closer handle on what's happening with your cash.
As a person who is very, very nerdy and has a spreadsheet for their budget, like I'm in charge of the monetary situations in the household that I live in with my wife, and we made the switch from I used to do it all by pen and paper, like old school, old school. We made the switch to spreadsheet on Excel. Gotta say, as a nerd, loving it. Loving having our budget digitized in a spreadsheet that we update every month. Loving it. It's great. So these are all. I'm all for, like, budgeting well and sensibly and organizing it. So I'm interested, at least, to see what you've chosen here as things that people might find helpful.
I'm not organized. I'm definitely not organized enough in my life away from work in order to be that guy to sit down with a spreadsheet and keep a track of what is happening with my money. So there are things out there to help me with that. So we've got one, I guess, category of app, which is an app that will basically look at not exactly how you're spending your money in where your money goes, as far as I know, but the amounts that you're spending. So if you've got £100 come into your account and you're spending £2 a week, chances are you could possibly afford to put some of that money to one side. And what these apps do is that they basically create an automatic savings pot for you. So apps to look out for are Plum, which also works as a Facebook Messenger bot as well. And you can find out more information at withplum, and that's PLUM.com, or Chip at getchip.uk. And so both those apps very much just make saving easier for you. I came across these apps myself when I had this great idea in my head, to try and be organized and to try and, at the end of every week, I was going to log into my bank account and transfer a little bit of money away into a savings account. There was a problem with that, Zach. I never did it. So these apps did it for me.
Amazing. I mean, we commit to putting a set amount into the savings every month, regardless of other things. So saving has never been, and it's not huge amounts, but so for those listeners out there who don't know, I feel like it's okay to share at least a little bit about my own personal life, because this is, you're getting a look behind the curtain. But currently in the adoption process to be an adoptive parent, and as a part of that, they like you to save quite a big chunk of money to like offset the cost of having a child whilst you're taking your kind of maternity leave and or kind of leave from your job in the first few kind of months of adoption.
Yeah.
And so that kind of forced our hand to be better. I think we had an external force applied on us that then made us be like, okay, we should save. Like, we should be better about saving and how we save. So now we just save the same amount every month, regardless, as like a set. Like, that's just what we will save. So we never consider that money to be expendable or something that we can spend. It just gets saved. But up to that point, we had no savings at all. And I think I remember reading about this. I think it's something crazy like 75% of adults between like 20 and 40 have less than £100 saving.
Okay.
Like, it's some staggeringly huge number have like less than £100 worth. So if you have more than £100 saved up anywhere, that already puts you in such a high percentage of like savers, which sounds crazy.
I can imagine it though. Yeah.
I think
savings not.
A lot of it has to do with the types of accommodation people will be using in that age bracket. So we're obviously we're in rented accommodation, so a big chunk of our earnings goes straight back out on where we live. And I think people that are fortunate enough to own their own homes and have mortgages pay significantly less. And so that chunk of disposable income, generally speaking, is what people then save in. Renting, however, is something you have to do as a young person. Like, you're going to struggle to have enough money. Like, me and Bethan both work, both have reasonable jobs. Obviously, both work at the YMCA, which we love, and both earn like kind of fairly normal wages for our age, doing what we do. And we still wouldn't be able to afford a mortgage on a house. So it's tough.
And another type of app I would recommend to anyone who's interested is, I believe it's called FinTech, and that it kind of takes financial and technology together. And out of this kind of way of thinking, you've got banks who don't have branches, they don't have a presence on the high street, but they do all their banking via apps online. The app that I personally shout and scream about is Monzo, and through that you can have loads of control over your money. You can set it up so kind of rounds up to the nearest pound. We'll put the spare cash into its own little savings envelope. You can set aside money for bills. You can auto save money for a rainy day, so on and so forth. It kind of puts that money away from, I guess, your main pot, and gives you that little bit more control over exactly what it is you have spare. What I do need to say in regards to any of this is that it's your money. Please do your own research into anything that you've heard us mention so far. So onto the gaming stuff. And gaming about ways to save money whilst gaming. And Zach, I'm sorry. The first thing I'm going to have to suggest is to look out for free-to-play weekends.
Yeah, and the best place to do this is, I'm pretty sure Xbox have a Twitter account that's either specifically for this, or their Game Pass Twitter account regularly tweets out every weekend, which is where sometimes I pull the information for Free Game Friday from. Is they do free play days pretty much every weekend, and they tweet out about it every Friday with what the weekend's free games will be. That's a really good place to start. So if you have Xbox, that's a great place to start for that stuff. They also do kind of, with their Game Pass type stuff, they also do they include some PC games occasionally, so there'll be free play days for PC and for Xbox. So if you're a PC gamer as well, you can all sometimes pick up a great kind of look at games. And I think this is also as we were talking about before the show, it's also a really good chance to see and play games to decide if you want to spend money on them. I think that's the biggest thing with games these days is because it's less regulated than it used to be, and the entry level for like game development and things is different now, and there's lots more indie games and lots more variance in kind of like quality. Like the bar used to be so high for like standards. And not that I'm saying standards have dropped. I'm just saying that now there's lots of different entry levels for like, so anyone can make a game if they want to, which is absolutely great for gaming and gamers in general. But sometimes you're like, that's maybe a bit too much money for what they're kind of offering. So this is a great way to kind of play for free, see if you like it. Quite often the games that they put out free play days for might have some deals as well, so they might be discounted when they do that to encourage you to buy the game if you enjoyed it after the weekend where it's been free. So I would definitely keep an eye out on kind of Xbox's Twitter account, the Xbox Game Pass Twitter account. They may even do their own Twitter account for free play days, but they are regularly announcing free play days. So do check them out if you would like to know about that. And we'll keep posting in our Gaming Hub group as well. We do Free Game Fridays where we'll direct people to free stuff. Again, another plug for our Facebook group. It is by invite, so you have to talk to us if you want to get an invite to it. But if you'd like an invite to it, we would love you to be invited to it. So please do reach out, get in touch with us, and we can make sure you get in the group so you can make the most of what goes on there.
Yes, and yeah, it's not just a PC and Xbox thing though, is it? Yeah, you can get free play weekends on like other.
Yeah, if you have a PC and you're on Steam regularly do like free play days. Like they might have a lot of gaming companies will do like
Stadia
deals.
do it as well.
Yeah, Stadia, like wherever you game, I guarantee you they'll do some variation of like whether it's like free play days or whether it's demos or like they might give you like 6 hours, like play the game for 6 hours before like it locks you out type thing. Most places you play games will have these options, so this is really just an encouragement from us to do your due diligence. Like if gaming is becoming too expensive, or you're trying to save a little bit of money, or you want to be more informed going into the game that you might be trying to buy or thinking about buying, look for a demo, look for free play days, like search online, like look at Twitter. Twitter's a good place, like people are always posting about deals that are out there and things. Do look, because I guarantee you'll find free stuff. Like gamers want you to play their game, and ultimately they want you to buy it if it costs money. So it's in their interests to offer you a sneak peek at the game before especially if it's a good game, right? A good game will sell itself. So if you play a game and it's good and you really enjoyed it, there's more chance of you going on then to buy it and purchase it. Yeah.
Like Watch Dogs Legion, for example. I played that over the weekend, loved it. Gonna be buying it at its cut price offer. Humble Bundle. Do you get much from Humble Bundle?
I don't, but I know that it's a really it's a fixed monthly cost, right? So you kind of
it's two things. There's either the subscription model where you can use the fixed monthly cost, or you could or where you can keep an eye on it, and it offers. I'm trying not to say the word bundle,
but it's a bundle.
It's a bundle. It's a bundle of software. It's a bundle of books, or bundle of other kind of digital assets for quite a small price compared to what you'd probably be buying. Paying for it.
Yeah, it's heavily discounted, Humble Bundle. And they're a charity type organization that work with game developers to they obviously put a request out. Please, does any game developers out there want to work with us to put together to be featured in Humble Bundle? And so yeah, you're getting heavily discounted games. Obviously, the caveat to this is it's whatever's in that bundle that month. Like that's what's discounted. So you the best thing you can do with this is probably just follow, like, just check every month and see. Because, like you say, you don't have to subscribe to it. You can just purchase it, one-off purchase it. So there's two, like Andy was saying, there's two options. You can either subscribe to it and you'll get it every month, or you can purchase it one-off purchase of it. It's slightly more. I think one is slightly more expensive than the other, but both heavily discounted though.
I think the monthly package that they do, it's like a monthly kind of group of games that you automatically get access to. Whereas the bundles, one month it could be like cooking books or sci-fi comics and game. The next month it could be, I picked up Doctor Who audios and programming books and other bits and pieces, and it keeps on changing from month to month. And yeah, what you get for your money, and whereas you'd have had to wait for what you're buying to turn up at somewhere like Humble Bundle.
Sure.
If you were to buy it full price, it's quite a massive saving in comparison. Which, I guess my next point is more of a question, is that sometimes it's just worth asking ourselves, is it better to wait for the game? Is it better to wait for whatever it is that we want to buy rather than buying it on day one?
Yeah, I mean, this is the age-old question, really. And I think part of it is definitely game sales happen more now than they ever have done in the past. And so there is definitely, especially if the game doesn't do well initially. So do you play the system and hope that the game that you're really interested in doesn't do that well, so then it gets discounted quite quickly, and so you save money from the initial launch cost, but then you miss out obviously on the kind of the hype around being and participating in the launch window. There's something about that gaming, like being, especially if it's a multiplayer game or an online game, missing out on the kind of the hype that's been created around the release. And then ultimately, if it's as well with an online game, if there's less people playing, then queue times are obviously longer. It's like things like that to bear in mind. But nowadays, like, games get discounted fairly quickly after release. Like, you're talking probably within 6 months of a game coming out, it will have been somewhere discounted.
So I guess on that note, we've got cdkeys.com, who is a website who you basically give them money and they send you the key to type into whatever online store and to get your game from. And these their offerings often seem to be quite cheap in comparison to other websites, and they often seem to have particular sales, which brings me back to what you were just saying, Zach, about games coming down in price. I'm fairly certain I saw Cyberpunk available for, I think it was 18 quid.
Yeah, well, there you go. Grab it up.
Well,
trust me, grab it up.
I was like, I just don't know if it would work.
It is having the most stable versions of that game at the moment are if you have Xbox Series X, Stadia, because you're not actually downloading anything, you're streaming it, and then you're talking like very specific high-end PC builds. So if you fall outside of those categories, probably still even not worth £18. However, as those of you in the Gaming Hub will have noticed, I posted a picture of me playing Cyberpunk, and they just released a huge patch with over 200 fixes to different things. 1.2 came out yesterday or the day before, is out on all platforms now. So this is the call to, if you've bought it and forgotten about it, might be worth popping your head back in. But equally, nothing so nothing so exciting that I'd be like, it warrants another playthrough because now it's completely different. No, it's just fixes that should not have happened, like things that should not have been in the game at the start. Not we've added some cool stuff to do. So.
Is a spelling error.
Yeah, you saw that, did you? Of Night City, like the place the game is set, they spelt night wrong. When the character would say "Welcome to Night City," that would come up in subtitles and it would be wrong.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was. I mean, it's just things like that, and that's easy to do. Like, whilst it's funny and hilarious, and it's become a bit of a meme. Easy to do. Like when you think like I think it was the H and the T were the wrong way around in Night. So hilarious. But they have made a big concerted effort. Like it's a huge patch. It's like one of the biggest I've ever seen for any game. Granted, the game was in a trashy state, so it probably needed that many fixes. And that's the thing is, I'm taking people's word for it because it's always run quite well on the Xbox Series X, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get one of get my hands on a Series X, which I didn't realize was going to be that difficult or still difficult. Apparently, like this is a whole nother the gaming news related thing, but the chipsets that the consoles use. Apparently, they're having really big problems getting their hands on the chips that go into the new gen consoles to make them. And so, if you manage to get it's still almost impossible to get a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. So I still don't really understand how I managed to get one. I was just the most lucky person in the right place at the right time. On the day that the Xbox, I still can't fathom how things came together in such a weird way that day, because I definitely was there, woke up on time, was there when all the pre-orders went live, and didn't get one. So I don't know. I don't understand how I managed it. But they're still really, really rare, and so you have two camps for Cyberpunk. You have the PC players and really then last generation console players. They're their biggest pools, and it still doesn't really work on the old gen consoles. Like even with this patch, yes, it's better. Its performance is better, but it was unplayable. So better isn't really that great a step. From unplayable to better, that's a long way off. This is a good game and worth spending any money on.
And the older PlayStation, older Xbox, they're not exactly underpowered machines.
No,
they are still good consoles.
Especially you think towards the last kind of generation cycle, you're probably playing on a PlayStation Pro or an Xbox One X. So you're playing on the slightly better versions of the consoles that came out. So you'd think the game was developed for with those consoles in mind as well. This is another problem that we might not get into too much now, but by announcing new consoles when they did in the middle of Cyberpunk's development cycle, probably kind of Cyberpunk, the developer CDPR, were probably a little bit annoyed or frustrated that halfway through they were designing this game for previous gen consoles, for then console companies to come out and go, we're releasing a new console, and then they're like, oh, okay, well, we probably really want to release it on that platform.
So that happens though, surely.
Yeah.
Isn't that?
Yeah, and it does. It happens, but it's just, I think it was just unfortunate for them. Then they rightfully so switched kind of focus to prioritize PC and the new consoles, not realizing that the new consoles were going to be almost impossible to get hands on. So they kind of things outside of their control. If everyone had bought a new console and upgraded, no one would care about previous generation console version not working. Legitimately, if everyone had managed to get the new consoles and make that switch by now, it would have been okay. Great. It's not great that your game was taken off online stores.
On previous gen consoles, you expect it to work on the previous gen.
True, and the big bulk of their sales was on previous gen consoles. Whether that would have changed or not, if people had been able to get, and it's such a complex issue because then you're saying their release date, which was delayed. If they delayed it again to kick it further into the next generation console cycle, then maybe that would have affected it as well. But they didn't. Basically, a lot of things didn't go right for them, and I feel bad for them a little bit. But if their game was good and it came out and it worked, then at least then the other things would have not been like as big of an issue, I think. So
There is just one thing I really want in regards to Cyberpunk in order to really get my interest. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was interested in it once upon a time. But there is one thing in particular that I want, and it does relate to saving money. It does relate to keeping an eye on how you spend your cash in a gaming world. And that is, I just want a demo of it in some shape or form. Just so I can install it onto my PC, check that it works.
Yeah.
And then I'll look out and spend that 18 quid.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if within the next year they're a part of a free play weekend, or they release a demo or something. I think there was one. I'm not sure. Maybe there wasn't. I don't know how they did it. Basically, yeah, it's just been a whole kerfuffle and a whole mess, really, for Cyberpunk. And in a year's time, year and a half time, maybe the game will be worth playing. By that point, you'll be able to get it really cheap. So I would wait. Just wait. Be patient. There are other games coming out, and there are lots of ways that we've talked about today to get into games and that you wouldn't maybe normally, for free or really cheap. That I would say there's lots of other great things out there. Cyberpunk just isn't one of those at the moment. So even £18 is probably too much.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Even on a machine that can run it?
Even on a machine that can run it.
Whoa. Mic drop.
Yeah.
Before we come to an end, can I... So we've got one more note here. And I'm going to look at you and say subscription models.
And I'm going to say everyone should get Game Pass. Because there isn't a better subscription gaming...
My co-host is not predictable at all whatsoever.
There isn't a better gaming-based subscription service out there at the moment. Like, there just isn't. And so if you game and you game either on Xbox or PC, then Game Pass Ultimate is just it's almost necessary at this point. Because take tomorrow, for instance, Outriders. If you've heard of Outriders, it's doing the kind of publicity cycle. You might not have heard of it. It's a game coming out tomorrow. Square Enix's Destiny type game, so it's a looter shooter live service game. It's the next big flavor. They announced 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before it came out, we're putting it on Game Pass. Well, we'll just put it on Game Pass. I was gonna have to buy it. I was committed to buying it. I was like, that's great. I like the look of it. But I'm happy to like this be my gaming purchase this month. This will be what I buy. I don't have to because I subscribe to Game Pass, and now I can just play it. And if it's not that great, I'm not going to be bummed. Like I won't have paid any money for it, really. So I think, yeah, Game Pass is just such a no-brainer, and I think if you are gaming on a budget, like if it's genuinely that much of a concern that you have to make a decision between gaming and something else, if that's at all a decision you have to make, Game Pass is the way to go, because it's not that expensive. I think it's about £10 a month, and you get access to all the games on Game Pass. And you might be saying, but I don't like any of the games on Game Pass. I would encourage you to try some of the games on Game Pass. Because not only do you get access to the back catalogue, but Microsoft made a commitment that all their games from studios they own, which now includes Bethesda and ZeniMax, will release on Game Pass. So if it's from Microsoft Studios or Microsoft in any way, it will release on Game Pass day one, going into the future. And they're only adding more studios. So that includes Obsidian as well. It includes kind of other game studios like that. I think there's a massive list of game studios that they now own that mean that it comes to Game Pass day one. And so it's not just that you get access to a back catalogue of really cool games. It's that new games are also a part of it as well. So like if you were like, well, I'm not sure about that. Well, you're going to save money moving forward, because when you'd normally be dropping 50, 60 quid for a new game, if it's on Game Pass, you'd have to do that. And that's a huge thing.
And I guess it kind of comes back to what we talked about earlier in doing your own research, because you could argue, like I said, it's £10 every month. I can't afford that. But if you look at the types of games that are on there, and the types of games that are expected to come out in that direction, if you're likely to spend 30, 40, 50 quid every couple of months on a new game, actually, you're going to either get that money back or you're going to make a saving. So always worthwhile having a look at sort of games that you'd probably be buying anyway.
Yeah. I mean, especially now they've bought Bethesda, and like as a RPG solo gamer primarily, most of my favorite games in the past like 5, 6, 7 years have been by Bethesda. So now I get to play those for free because I have Game Pass for like the foreseeable future, right? And that's huge because it means then I can buy a different game every month, right? Like the money I've put aside for my gaming budget every month can then be spent elsewhere because I don't have to buy the latest Bethesda game or the latest Obsidian game or the latest Microsoft Studios game. Halo, for instance, kind of any first-party Xbox game will come to Game Pass, which means then that frees up my gaming budget to take a look at something else that I might not normally. Or when kind of games tend to clump together into months, right? So you're like, well, there's a month where there's lots of games coming out you want to play. That means I'll get to play a few more of them because I guarantee probably more than one comes at Game Pass. Yeah. I think there was one month a while ago where there was like 6 or 7 games that came out within the space of like 2 weeks. I wanted to play all of them. Did I? No. So even I couldn't wangle that one. As a slightly kind of more hardcore gamer and someone who has probably a little bit more disposable income for the lack of a child in my life that doesn't take up money, which is nice. Because it means I can spend more money on my hobbies and things. Don't have to buy shoes or school uniforms or extra food for a child or anything like that. So just rubbing it in. Yeah.
Food.
I think the latest statistic is and I think this has been the same for a while, but I think a child costs a married couple or anyone that has a child, you don't have to be married obviously, a child costs between the ages of birth and 18, £250,000 ish.
Whoa!
And that's just like the average. So obviously, depending on you might pay more, you might pay less, but over their 18 years, that's how much money you'll be putting into a child. Imagine if you could just trade for the 250,000. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. Obviously, that's not how it works. Well, on that note, it seems like an appropriate time to finish recording the podcast for today. Now that we've all traded our children in for £250,000. That's a new government scheme, by the way. You just trade them in, and get your money, on we go. Well, guys, on that slightly strange note, this has been the Skill Check podcast from YMCA Exeter. I've been Zach, he's been Andy, and you can find us on all good podcast platforms. So if you prefer to listen to the audio version of this, you can find us there. And if you want to email us or get in touch with us to join the Facebook group where we post about lots of gaming stuff, about our own gaming experiences, where you get reminders about things that we do during the week, like the podcast or the live stream, or if you want to join in on Free Game Fridays and find out all the information we put together about free stuff that you can get your hands on, and you'd like an invite to that Facebook group, you can get in touch with us. And you can do that by using our brand new email address, which is response@ymcaexeter.org.uk. And if you would rather use our personal email addresses, they can be found on the website, ymcaexeter.org.uk. You can find our staff page. We're both on there. You can find our emails on there. We're also on social media, so you can find us at YMCA Exeter on all the socials, and you can contact the person that controls those accounts, and they'll get in touch with us for you if that's the way you want to go about things. Basically, if you want something, do get in touch with us because there's lots of ways out there to do that. We love to hear from you. But this has been Skill Check, the Gaming and Wellbeing podcast from YMCA Exeter, and we will see you all next week.
Beautiful.
Now, Tim asked a question, and I want to address it. However, I'm not sure I quite understand the question. So, Tim, if you're still hanging around, you asked a question about consoles and gaming PCs and where to get something online. Like, if you can rephrase that, because I don't quite understand what you're asking, but I would like to answer the question. So, if you're still out there and want an answer on that question, then please do post again and do ask us again. I don't quite understand the question, but I want to answer the question. So please do if you're still hanging around. And you might get it more. I'm not quite sure what he's asking, the difference between.
So, one thing to be aware of, if next game console comes up. So in regards to when the next game console is a thing, I think that's about keeping an eye on news websites, Microsoft's, it's like Xbox's own Facebook page, Nintendo Switch.
They're not great at...
Yeah, their next Pro is rumored to be coming out.
Yeah.
At some point, possibly this year, possibly.
Maybe never.
Yeah.
Who knows? Now that Mario died as
always,
well, I mean, what's the point?
It's always best to keep an eye on the official websites rather than the rumors, or you just get yourself caught up in what is rumors and what is news. And to be perfectly honest, I got my PC from Amazon in the end.
I'm having this same debacle as well. Like, I am trying to, and this is probably, maybe we'll do, maybe this could be next week's podcast topic. I am also potentially in the market for my own personal gaming PC/laptop. And I have read so many articles about the best gaming PCs, best gaming laptops, like what do you need, what do you not need, what would you like it to have, what's your budget, all that kind of stuff. And I am lost in a sea of information, and I don't know whether it's better to get a good deal on something that will kind of run things as they are now, or invest heavily in something that will be good for, like, run games for longer into the future. And I don't feel like it's something that you can kind of scrimp on, but at the same time, there's definitely a debate to be had about kind of like getting the most out of what you have in terms of like. But I made my mind up about 6 times, by the way, on like, this is it. I think I eventually decided laptop was a better way to go because it's portable. So then it's just about deciding which laptop, and then which laptop base, I should say, do you like, and then within that, then what do you want in the laptop? Like, what components do you want it to be made up of? And I was circles, round and round in circles all day long, round and round and round.
Yeah, I ended up going for a tower, and yeah, I just went round and round in circles for
forever, right? You managed to commit, which is something I haven't been able to do.
And I ended up committing because I was like, I need to commit, or I'm just never gonna move past this.
Yeah.
And I think, I had some time off as well. I was aware I had like a week off.
Did you get a fully pre-built one, or did you buy it with the intention of then getting some components to put in?
It was pre-built.
Pre-built. Is there a space in there to put in some more stuff?
I've had a quick look.
It's got some extra RAM slots in there. I bet it does. I bet there's space for more RAM.
I'm not sure there's extra RAM slots, unfortunately. There's definitely some PCI card slots there. Still, I'm acutely aware that my PC hardware tech knowledge is a little
same. It's absolutely the same. It's just lots of numbers and words, and I'm like, I know what's.
Yeah, I'm never very good at the numbers and words.
Yeah.
Back when my tech knowledge was more up to date.
Yeah. And I think what's happened now is that before, back in the day, it was this is the computer components to choose from. They're made by this company, and that's you just get you just go for what you need to run it. Now, like the way PCs are built and set up is that the infrastructure could all be built by a specific company, which has its own internal branding and name for things, versus like another company might do different sets of graphics cards, and so it's then deciding, well, if I get this graphics card from this company, what's the comparable one made by the other company? It's obviously named something completely different, but not different enough to not be confusing. So there's a lot of like 270s and 380 Ti, like they all sound fairly similar, but made by different places, do completely different things. They're kind of some are just my mind just blows up every time I try.
I found Google was mostly my friend. In that, yeah, I was able to find like bench. Oh, I'm tired. Not bench warming.
You found a bench. I mean, that's a different conversation.
I should probably go find myself a bench. Oh. Oh my days. Yeah, basically.
The mid ground, right? You found the average.
Yeah, I kind of found sites that would tell me what did what faster and what was better value for money than the other thing, and so on and so forth. But even then, some of those websites were, and this is the reason why I said mostly my friends, found some of those sites were like, well, this graphics card is a good entry-level graphics card. And I'm like, what does that actually really mean?
Yeah, because what game are they testing that with, right? Like, are you telling me that I'll be able to? An interesting thing that Currys do, because I've been looking there. They tell you how well it plays Fortnite. So they tell you how many frames you'll get and what kind of. And I'm like, that's a fairly good way of like, in my head, now I know what that means. All the information you've told me, I know that Fortnite will play this well on this pre-built PC. And it's a fairly intensive game, as I'm learning, because we play it on the live stream on Thursday evenings. I have done last time and we'll be doing tomorrow night. It's a fairly high intensity game because it's an online game as well. So you then kind of a bit at the mercy of kind of how well your computer can play the game, plus then play it online as well at the same time. So it's a good benchmark. Fortnite is a good benchmark. And so that made it a little bit clearer to me. But then I reading lots of articles about like the top 10 gaming PCs or top 10 gaming PCs on a budget and all that kind of stuff. I just don't think I'm any the wiser after reading all of it and like paying attention and like I understand what the best. If I had £1 million, I would know which PC to buy. But I don't think it helps you decide if you don't have unlimited resources, which you're gonna get the most out of for the money that you have to spend on it. That's what I found more confusing.
Because I'm acutely aware of how much. I definitely spent more money on the PC than I'm normally comfortable splashing out.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also very aware there's a lot more expensive stuff out there.
Yeah, no, and that I think that's what scares me is when you search in somewhere like Currys, like and like the cheapest PC you're going to see is probably going to sit around £600, like, and then the top end is probably close to 5,000. And so you're thinking, where on earth do I land on that? That is a big, that is like such a big difference. If you bought the £5,000 PC, you'd be future-proof. That's going to be fine for a few years. If you bought the £600 PC, whilst it might be able to play games now, in a half a year's time, you're going to need to be upgrading it. And if you're not confident taking apart your PC and upgrading it yourself, then why would you ever buy? Like, it just invalidates. A lot of it is like, oh, there's extra space for this, extra space for that. But I'm like, yeah, but I am never going to be in a position confident to back myself to open my PC and upgrade it Like, I'm not going to do that. So I need to then buy the
you
thing
say-
that's going to last.
You're looking at the quote unquote gaming PCs, right?
Yeah.
Because I think all the other hardware, apart from the laptop and the PC in question, all the other hardware in the house isn't quote unquote gaming, but they'd all run something.
Yeah.
In that the old desktop I've got up here would still run stuff. Does it run anything up to date? Probably not. I definitely wouldn't even think about installing Fortnite on it. We're talking it's over a decade old now. But yeah, it still runs bits and pieces. It kind of depends on what you're wanting to play, I guess. The laptop that we've got wouldn't run Fortnite. Definitely does not run Battlefield. But it runs most other bits and pieces that I want to play.
Yeah.
So if you think back to when it's like when Epic did their kind of Christmas offers, most of the stuff that I downloaded just to check it out, it gave it a good go at least. And that's probably and that laptop's probably a few years old now.
Yeah, I think my overwhelming feeling was it's some things. There's a sliding scale. So graphics card, whilst it is important, that's probably a movable. That's probably one of the things where, if other things are good, then the graphics card doesn't need to be the best one you can put in the machine. So it's all about the processor. So what kind of processor does it have, and then also how much RAM does it have. And and what kind of hard drive? How much specialized hard drive space, like SSD, quick access memory, does it have to run to not store the game, but to load the game and load your save and load into the game, that kind of launch the game, that kind of stuff. And so I found myself kind of settling quite quickly at you probably want 16 gigabytes of RAM, just because it's better to have too much. Like, you don't want not enough. You don't want to get 8 and then realize that you should have got 16 like that, because that's like a whole thing. So I was like, okay, fine. I settled very quickly on that's how much RAM I wanted. And then I was thinking, as far as processor is concerned, I know i9 is like the best, but I was like, i7 probably be okay for like most gaming stuff. And then I was like, well, graphics cards, this is where it gets really complex, because there's loads of them, literally loads of them. And they're all called something similar. And this is probably where I ended up getting defeated each time, was I just didn't know which one I really needed. And I'd look at, like, what I used to do is go to Steam, pick a game that I'd like to play that I don't play on console because it's PC only, and see what their recommended specs are, and see what the minimum and maximum are, and then base it around what the maximum would be. But even then it's hard, because they usually just pick 2 on Steam, and they say these 2 would be good. Now, if only the choice was between 2, it would be easy. That would make it really easy. But there's so many different packages and bundles, different variations on the same thing. And this isn't even with thinking about if you get a desktop, if you get a tower.
Oh, you're breaking up. There you go.
This isn't even considering what cooling system it has. Like, this isn't. I didn't even get that far. I didn't even get as far as like, well, how is it cooling it? How does it keep, like, what kind of cooling systems it got? I know that some are better than others. I know that kind of liquid cooling can be a little bit iffy, so you might want to stay away from liquid cooling. But equally, some liquid cooling systems are really, really good and better than anything you're going to get, any fan-based system that you can get. And then I thought, you know what? I've got an Xbox Series X. I'm in the top 5% of console gamers in the world because no one can get one. I'm probably just going to stay. I'm probably just going to be patient and wait for games to come out on console. And that's ultimately where I landed. And probably where I'll stay is I managed to get an Xbox Series X. And so I'm going to just be patient. Although there's not loads of games out for it at the moment. Patience is the key.
Yeah, I mean, you can run Cyberpunk, run out loud on it.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. this isn't me. This isn't pity. This isn't definitely not a pity party for me, guys. I game on an Xbox Series X on a 4K TV.
Depends what type of game you want to play.
Yeah, totally.
If or here's something to really kind of spin the options. If you're looking for more kind of, I guess, old style Monkey Island type RPG style game, then possibly a cheaper PC.
Yeah, but my theory now is, although those games come out on PC first, if they come to console, I am in the best place to play them.
Yeah, and the thing is,
it's an if though, right?
PC naturally has a keyboard and mouse.
True, but I've been a console gamer for so long that,
and that's why I said it depends on the type of game.
Yeah, and I think it's not that because a lot of, don't get me wrong, the best place to play the kind of games I love is PC. This is where the rubber hits the road, and then I usually spend a year after the games I like releasing on PC to see if they will come to console. So I'm talking like the new Baldur's Gate, the new Pathfinder game, Wrath of Righteous. So you top down isometric RPG tactics type games that go well with keyboard and mouse because of the nature of kind of what you're doing. Don't translate all that well into PC, and the player base for these games is primarily PC based. The kind of gamer that plays these games has a PC, so they don't bring them to console as much. Now they have done more recently because I think people are just learning that if you put your game everywhere, you've got more people to buy it, essentially. So that tends to be more the line companies take now. Whether that means there's a delay or a wait between kind of when they come out on console, whether it's a bit later. All of Larian Studios games did eventually come to console. So Baldur's Gate 3 probably going to come to console, especially because they released Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 on console recently as an enhanced edition. It's just about timing. Am I patient enough to wait? And Bethan said this. She called me out. She said, don't pretend like for a minute you need a PC or a laptop to game on. I know you've got an Xbox Series X over there you just finished paying for. And I know that that's really good. Like that's top of like that. As far as like I have a high end PC. Okay, it's just called the Xbox Series X. It has the best stuff at the moment. Like it does things really well. She called me out. She was like, "You've just been patient. You want the games that are out on PC now. You want to play them now, and you can't because they're not out on Xbox. So you just want to buy it so you can play now. You just need to wait." Yeah, I'm there, please. She's like, no, like you should be patient, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. I waited 10 years for Cyberpunk. That went really well, so I mean, what's the worst that could happen? It wasn't quite 10 years, guys. I'm being hyperbolic. And yeah, and there are games that come to console that don't come out on PC. So like, let's not pretend like there's some kind of weird PC is best thing. It's different. So that's the end of my TED talk. I hope you all come back next week. We should probably disappear. Look how light it is outside, Andy. Look how light it is outside. It's crazy. Yeah, we used to do this in the dark. It used to be dark by this point.
Dark by 4 o'clock.
That's true. It's been dark for a while.
Yeah. We should probably say goodbye to lovely watchers. I don't know why I did just hands now.
Yeah. Bye, guys. We will see you all next week. Same time, same place.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye.